and listeners, let's talk about another inevitable win. We've got a main event here of Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland, which is not even an 8-week build. It was like a 5-week build, wasn't it? That like Strickland had beat, what was that jabroni's name? Abus Magomedov? That sounds kind of like Nurmagomedov. Let's get him in there. He gets steamrolled by Sean Strickland, which is
great performance.
Great.
It's a great performance. The guy had known for coming out fast, blowing people away. Strickland rolled with him, played straight into Strickland's hands, and he executed. He got a finish, Joe. He finished him.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think all credit to Strickland.
You've got a weird thing for Sean Strickland. Like
here we go. Here we go. Yeah,
but you do defend him a lot. Like, you overly defend him as a fighter. It's weird. You defend him more as a fighter, and I defend him more as a person, which is weird.
I'll tell you what it is.
Right.
It's his world view, Joe. It just resonates on so many levels. I think he's one of the profound philosophers of our time and should be recognised as such. No, obviously it's not that. I just deal with what I see on paper. All right, people had been rubbishing Strickland, weren't impressed with his fight over Cannonier, which, yes, I also thought he won that. And yeah, Abus had got some big push from the UFC after blowing away, was it Stoltzfus or something like that on his debut?
Who?
Yeah, well, quite. But the UFC was building him up. All right, they matched Strickland again, short notice main event, and he deals with those criticisms and he gets a finish, a good finish over a man who posed some threat in the first round.
A guy who's got 3 minutes of fury in a main event where Sean Strickland doesn't really get finished either.
Joe, Sean Strickland got absolutely clapped by Alex Pereira.
Yeah, but that's Pereira one of the dumbest game plans I've ever seen.
That is in Strickland's memory bank. That is a part of who he is right now. He didn't enjoy that. That wasn't a good experience for him. He didn't want that to happen again. And he had a guy come out hot, big, powerful striker, and let the guy play into him perfectly. It was a fun fight.
Okay.
Not like, all right, get him in front of the champ fun.
No. Well, this is the weird thing with it, isn't it? We touched on it briefly, but the whole Duplessis thing it sat right there, even before he beat Whittaker, and then he gets the confirmation win against Whittaker of this guy's the number one. You have to give him the title fight. There's no question about this. And now we got Strickland stepping in because Duplessis obviously can't make that fight in 8-9 weeks, which is fair enough. And now Strickland's in this fight, and they're even hinting, Dana saying, well, I don't like it when people turn down fights. I'm like, what? So Duplessis not going to get the next one? Duplessis should be front row for this fight, and he should get.
He is.
He's going to get in his face, and they're going to sell this weird race war fight afterwards.
You look down this rankings in the middleweight division, and it is a desert. It's an absolute barren wasteland.
Well, that's why I get why they put Abus in there with Strickland, where it's just if he beats Strickland, then hey ho, we've potentially got a new guy that we can toss out there. But then obviously a nice easy win for Strickland, really, which is a nice highlight reel finish. Oh, he knocked this guy out in his last fight.
Joe, I have to say something.
Yeah.
Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
You actually take a moment to look at the guy's run in the UFC in the last few years.
Right.
You have to just take a look. All right. Going into that, admittedly hilarious loss to Pereira where he got caught with a left hook. Yes, the man is on a 6-fight streak.
Yeah.
Fighting, yes, the middling part of the middleweight division, but usually ranked guys like Brendan Allen. All right, that's a win.
Well, hold on. When he fought Allen, that he was not a ranked guy, but let's just get that straight.
No, but Allen is good. He's not world class, but he's good.
He's all right.
Jack Hermanson.
Sure.
Nordine Taleb.
Sure.
I'm pushing it a bit. All right, and then
you skipped over your
following
boy, Jack Marshman.
I think he's finally been cut. You haven't seen him rear his beautiful face for a little while, and then goes in. All right, has a very poor performance against Pereira. We don't need to discuss that further. It's out there. I thought he won the Cannonier fight. Cannonier, we know he's a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Imavov, before his recent outing, Imavov is a quality win.
At light heavyweight, when Imavov had cut weight to 185, and he's just like, oh no, you don't have to do that now, and he weighed in at 195, and Strickland weighed in at 205. It's just weird asterisks on the whole thing. And the weirdest, almost the weirdest thing, is that he's fighting Adesanya, and the backup fighter's Cannonier, a guy who beat him 9 months ago. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm struggling to.
He didn't know, really. He didn't though. He didn't beat him.
He did. I had Cannonier winning, and you know what? I actually remember this. I actually gave all 5 rounds to Cannonier. That's
you absolute mentalist. You absolute mentalist. No. He outstruck him. Anyway.
No, he didn't.
Anyway. Yes, he did, Joe. It's a matter of. It's on the record. Sean Strickland outstruck Jared Cannonier. All right, took no damage. Was a little bit tentative. Anyway,
152 to 141.
Decisive. Now, look, what number is bigger, Joe? That's right. Sean Strickland's 152. Whatever you say, that fight was a 55-45. Now, I don't mean in the scores. I mean percentage over who won the fight.
Yeah.
Nobody really lost. Nobody really won. Okay? And this is what we got. We got Sean Strickland going in there against one of the greatest of all time, a man who has an almost perfect record and has corrected the one blip that was on it. What does Strickland need to do to win this fight?
Now, I know this sounds odd, what I'm about to say, and in a way obvious, but Tom, for Sean Strickland to win this fight, he needs to mix his martial arts. Does that like in a phrase that makes sense?
I mean, it suggests to me that you're giving him the age-old advice to wrestle Izzy.
No, not necessarily.
Time-tested, time-honoured advice. Take him down, Sean. Well, take him down.
No, this is the thing, is he more likely to take him down because he's not a wrestler? Like, for example, when he fought Vettori, when Adesanya fought Vettori, he knew what he was going to do. He was going to come in there and he was going to try and wrestle him. He's just like, well, I'm going to be ready for that. When he fought Whittaker, the second time, he knew what he was going to do, right? There has to be a level of variety to what Strickland's offering, whereby Adesanya can't just flow into his natural game plan. This sounds utterly ridiculous. I'm so sorry. This is absolutely ludicrous.
It sounds like you don't believe what you're saying, Joe.
In a sense, I don't believe what I'm saying.
All right. Well, let me provide some facts for you. Sean Strickland is very good at sticking in the pocket and just out of range, constantly applying pressure, wearing opponents down and landing his jab. Can he do that to Adesanya? And if he has any success, what effect might that have on Adesanya?
Okay, can he do that to Adesanya? As in, can Sean Strickland press the action, move forward, jab? Yes, he can do that, because I probably think that Adesanya will oblige that to a certain extent.
He will. I think Adesanya likes to counter from... Yeah, absolutely.
He loves to counter. He'll be chopping at the lead leg. The thing is with Strickland as well is that, like, he's not, like, super heavy on any leg, like when he sort of moves between stances. And he tends to be more orthodox. You know, he tends to use, like, the rear right hand quite close to his chin, sort of, like, right under his chin, and the sort of like left hand sort of like reaching, touching out there. Strike comes in or a kick and he sort of like sweeps. He sort of does like a sweeping motion. You know, that left hand is going to be sweeping a lot. Like he's going to be sweeping. That kick is going to be landing to the gut. You know, the problem that I have is that like when I think about this fight of like how is Strickland going to win this, it is going to have to be grabbing something and pulling him into a clinch and trying to work something into a clinch. And it's just like, how is he going to get to that clinch? Will Adesanya allow him to get into that clinch? Would Adesanya even want to be in the clinch? He probably would. Like, he probably would do some damage in there.
Yeah, Adesanya's strong in the clinch.
So, for example, so I watched the Brendan Allen fight this morning before we recorded, and Strickland did a fair bit of damage in the first round from taking Allen down off a court kick. And I'm wondering if that's going to have to be something. It's going to have to be something like that to like take rounds from Adesanya, because he's not going to finish him. So it's just like, okay, how can you take rounds from him? And it probably is going to have to be off like caught kicks. It's going to have to be off of like throwing a jab, missing, and just using it to grab him. Do you know what I mean? Like he throws the left hand out there, he misses, just like, oh, it's fine, I'm just going to grab him anyway. Grab the back of the neck, just like grab into a clinch, pull into a clinch from there and try and muscle him from there. You know, it's going to have to be from that. And also, there was the fight against Cannonier, where you could see that Eric Nixick, his coach, who, by the way, is a tremendous coach, tremendous game planner, was telling him, throw the rear leg as a kick, like throw it up the middle from there. And he just didn't do it. And then against Imavov, he threw that rear leg kick up the middle, and it actually had some like decent results. So I think that is something maybe Strickland can do, is not have like a continuous pattern or rhythm, just always like being nothing like kind of like flowing into one of the other, if that makes sense.
No, exactly. As you said, to mix to martial arts, to create situations where they're not just kind of trading shots on the feet, and Sean is, head hunting with his little powder puff jabs, basically. Yeah. The patented Sean Strickland method, the test that so few have failed to overcome, let me just say, is not going to be enough here against Adesanya. All right, he mixes in other elements of the game. He tries to catch kicks, work in from there. He throws that kick up to the body that you were referencing. Hopefully, he works in a few low leg kicks of his own. And what he will have some success in, which other people have struggled massively, I'm looking at Paulo Costa, for example, is keeping a constant pressure and cutting off the cage. Now, not cutting off the cage as in that he leaves Adesanya nowhere to go, but actually staying in the danger zone longer than Paulo Costa was able to. You won't be able to just... I don't think he's just exiting out the side like he was able to against Paulo Costa. I think Strickland will stay in that space where the danger remains. And so, you have to say, you take someone like Jared Cannonier, his fight with Adesanya. Ultimately, it was quite a close fight. I mean, Adesanya was always going to win it, but he wasn't...
He was always out of distance. It was like when Holloway fought Frankie Edgar, and he won 4 rounds to 1. But it was just like at no stage was he like beating him up badly. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like the Ortega one where like, Jesus Christ, this guy shouldn't be in there with him. It was like he's doing enough to stay in the fight, but not enough to actually win the fight. And I think that'll be something that will be there for Strickland, is an ability to stay in the fight. I think also people have referenced the Costa fight, and I think that that's a fair one. In terms of like broke down the body, went to the head. Like that is what Adesanya will do in this fight. He'll break down the legs, he'll break down the body, then he'll go to the head. Like that will just be the method to it. The thing is actually in Strickland's favour is that he's not as muscly as Costa, so he's not having to carry as much. Like he's not going to like gas out in the same way that Costa did, where Costa tried pressing forward, was getting beaten up, was missing because obviously he's got short arms, so everything has to be in hook range. Obviously he can't get there.
And terrible ring craft as well.
Which I will say Strickland is not a master of. Strickland often crosses his feet as well, where Adesanya will catch him doing that. He will catch him crossing his feet, and he probably will knock him down off a leg kick just from that.
It sounds like here, Joe, you're torn between a total humbling a la Pereira, Strickland, or a 60-40% win, outstriking him, outpointing him over 5 rounds. What's it going to be?
I mean, it depends on the motivation for Adesanya.
I think it's there. I
think it's there as well. I think he very much dislikes Strickland for obvious reasons. And I think that we haven't really talked about Izzy because what can we say about him? Like, I think
it's all out there, Joe. His back catalogue is vast now.
And our back catalogue of loving him, or at least for me, loving him, is I jest. Obviously, Tom is a big fan as well. Is out there. We know his game. we have an understanding of it, but I always feel like there's something more that he's got hidden behind. And I don't know, I just think that there's, that whole meme of like, oh, he's got that dog in him. I think he's got that nasty bastard in him at the moment, and I think he wants to hurt Strickland, and I think he wants to put a marker down, and I think he wants to say, this is my year, and every year is my year, and I'm going to take that Pereira performance where I got the finish in the second, and I want to get it in the first. I think he's got that in him this fight, and I do think he's going to knock him out, and I do think it's going to be absolutely horrendous butchering of Sean Strickland this week. I think he's going to butcher him. Like, I think he's just going to go in there. He's going to... Strickland's going to start jamming with him. He's going to like, this guy doesn't deserve to be in here with me. Like, I can just... It's my sense. It's my feeling. I'm projecting, obviously. I never want to see Sean Strickland in the title fight again. Please, Izzy, remove any doubt. Remove any doubt. Adesanya knockout.
All right, Joe. I understand your narrative, and it would make for... Entertaining would be the wrong word. That's a very, like, Roman Colosseum kind of...
Satisfying is the word.
I don't know if that would count as a big statement for me. I don't know what Adesanya can do with a fight like this. I really don't know. Or show something special, show an extra level of ferocity, show some more diversity, take some more risks. But he's had that put in front of him before, and he's declined the invitation to take more risks. He knows what can happen. There's a lot riding on it, for him. If he were to get embarrassed by Strickland, that would be a blotch on the record to stain out, a lot of his previous work.
That would be worse than anything that happened to Anderson Silva, like post him being washed as well.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that is that level for me. Like, there's a whole thing with, like, this title fight compared to the other Izzy title fights. It's like, the other ones had something there where it's either I'm fighting, like, the top guy, I'm fighting a proper contender, or I'm fighting a guy who I've got an issue with.
Or a juicy beefcake.
Yeah, or someone who's got all three, which is Paulo Costa. Like, that was... do you know what I mean? Like, it was... He fought the top contender in Costa... and he had a bit of a personal thing with him. He fought the number one guy, which is Robert Whittaker. He fought Cannonier, who had fought his way up to contendership, as much as he may have not been excited for that fight, and I very much wasn't. Or he fought Pereira, who he had the history with, and who has been manufactured as the number one contender. There's always something there. Whereas with this one, it was like, they had a bit of an argument at a press conference last year.
No, I hear you. You go further back. I mean, you even look at like Romero. You look at the second Vittori fight that was for the belt. There's question marks about, from their first fight. So, I guess there would be one fight I'd pick out where Adesanya actually, there wasn't that much going on into the fight. It just kind of happened. And it was an absolute banger, Joe. It was Gastelum, Adesanya.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That was a hard fight to justify at the time, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. So more of that would be great. I don't see it happening.
No.
I don't see it happening. I think it will be a very drawn out affair with constant pitter patter on each side, and Adesanya just doing enough, edging ahead.
50-45.
Yeah, likely taking all the rounds by decision. Perhaps dropping a round or two here and there. I don't think that's impossible.
I really hope not, because I hated the reaction to the Whittaker rematch where people are like, I think Robert Whittaker won that fight. And I'm like, oh, you're blind. Okay, great. Thank you for confirming that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be any strain of an argument that Sean Strickland did anything of any worth in this fight.
The thing is, Adesanya, like, Strickland's gonna oblige him. He's gonna give Adesanya what he wants. So really, this is a nice chance for him to, paint that picture and add another marker to his highlight reel. Like, Strickland will be there. He'll be he's in that space to be hit. He's there to be countered. I don't see him being... Well, I don't see Strickland getting caught like he did against Pereira. That would... Well, it wouldn't shock me, but it's hard to picture that. I picture him implementing his trademark style and kind of rolling rolling with punches and just being out the way enough, getting enough off in Izzy's face that it's frustrating. A few awkward exchanges in the clinch, a little bit of point scoring with kicks, and decision win for Adesanya. Very unexciting.